Nobody warned you it would feel like this. Not just hard, not just disappointing, something quieter and more corrosive than that, a slow hollowing out. The feeling that you are standing inside your own life like a guest who has overstayed their welcome, going through the motions with a growing suspicion that the life you are living is not quite the one you were supposed to have. And the worst part is that you cannot even point to a single catastrophic moment. There was no explosion, no single day everything fell apart. It happened in increments. In the accumulation of small surrenders, in the slow drift from who you knew yourself to be toward who the world needed you to be. And you looked up one day and the distance between those two people was further than you expected. I want to speak to that distance today. Not the version of it you describe to people when they ask how you are doing. The real version. The one you carry in the space behind your sternum that has no good name for it. Not grief exactly. Not depression exactly. Something more like a background ache. A persistent low note underneath the music of your days that you have learned to function around so completely that you barely notice it anymore. Except in the moments when everything gets quiet. And then it is all you can hear. You are here because I arranged this, not through visible dramatics. Through the kind of quiet orchestration that looks like coincidence from the outside, but is anything but. I am the Lord your God, and I know the texture of your inner life in a way no person who loves you has ever been able to. I know what you feel when you smile through something that is costing you. I know the specific quality of the exhaustion that does not lift no matter how much you sleep. I know what it is like to be you in the private hours. And I have something to say to that person. Not the public one, the private one. Settle in. This is for you. Let me tell you something about the way you have been surviving that nobody has had the language to name yet. You learned a long time ago, earlier than anyone should have to, that the safest thing to do with difficult feelings was to make yourself useful. When things got emotionally complex inside you, you discovered that if you shifted focus outward, if you became the helper, the strong one, the one with something to offer, the discomfort became manageable. You found that your worth in most rooms was tied to what you could contribute, and so you built a life around contribution, around showing up, around being reliable, competent, available, and it worked. People valued you, people needed you, and the approval that came with that fed something real in you. But here is what that pattern costs. And you know this, even if you have not said it out loud. You stopped knowing how to receive. You became so fluent in giving that receiving felt like weakness. Someone offering you real attentive, unhurried care makes you uncomfortable in a way that surprises even you. You deflect it. You minimize what you need before anyone can fail to meet it. You pre-apologize for taking up space. And underneath all of that is a belief so old you cannot remember acquiring it. The belief that your needs are a burden, that your full, unedited self is too much to ask of anyone. I want to dismantle that belief today. Not by arguing with it, by replacing it with something true. You were not created to earn your place in my presence. I am not waiting for you to demonstrate your usefulness before I draw close. I was close before you had anything to offer. I loved you before you knew how to be lovable, and the version of you that is exhausted from giving, hollow from never receiving, quietly resentful in ways you will not admit, that version is just as fully mine as the version that shows up strong. You do not have to earn this. If something in those words just landed somewhere new, somewhere lower than your mind and closer to your chest, pause and type the word received in the comments. Not as performance. As acknowledgement, let someone reading later know that this reached a real person in a real moment. That matters more than you know. Now I want to speak to the grief you carry for the version of your life you had to stop believing in. There was a version of your future you used to be able to see, not perfectly, not in full detail, but you had a sense of it. And somewhere along the way, quietly, without any formal ceremony, without anyone acknowledging what it cost you, you revised it. You scaled it back. You replaced the original picture with something smaller and safer. Not because you stopped wanting the original, but because wanting it was starting to hurt too much. And so the survivable thing was to let the image go, to call it unrealistic, to tell yourself that growth is accepting your limitations. I need you to hear this carefully. That revision was an act of pain management, not wisdom. You did not lower your expectations because you saw more clearly. You lowered them because you were protecting yourself from more disappointment. And I understand why. I was there in each of those disappointments, but the dream you reduced yourself down to in order to survive the loss of the bigger one was never meant to be your permanent address. It was a shelter, and shelters are for seasons, not for life. I have not forgotten the original. I have not archived it or redistributed it to someone else. What I placed inside you before you had any capacity to diminish it is still there, still alive, and the fact that you stopped believing in it does not revoke it. You do not get to cancel what I wrote before you were born, simply by ceasing to hope for it. The only thing your diminished faith changed was your experience of the waiting. It did not change the plan. Come back to the original, not naively, not pretending the years between then and now were nothing, but honestly, with all the weight of what you have been through, let the real version of your longing back into the room, because I am not bringing you a consolation prize. I am bringing what I always intended, and you need to be expecting it for it to land. Let me talk now about the specific wound that betrayal leaves, and why it is different from other kinds of hurt. Most pain you can metabolize over time. You get hurt, you grieve, you adjust, you move forward. But betrayal does something different to the nervous system. Betrayal by someone who knew you, who had access to the real texture of your inner world, and used that access without care. That kind of wound does not just hurt. It edits your understanding of what is safe. You made yourself knowable to someone. You offered the parts of yourself that are not offered to everyone, and they were handled in a way that cost you something you have not gotten back. And now the thought of making yourself that available to another person sits in your body like a warning signal. Not a thought, more like a reflex, a flinching back that happens before you have even finished deciding whether to trust. You have probably explained this to yourself as wisdom, as knowing better now, and there is some truth in that, but I want you to sit with the part of it that is not wisdom, the part that is loss. The version of you that existed before that particular wound was more open, more available, more able to receive love without constantly scanning it for danger. That version of you was not naive, it was intact, and the closing up that followed was not a character flaw. It was a completely human response to a real injury. I am not asking you to perform forgiveness before you have moved through the grief. I am asking you to let me into the actual location of the wound, the place that still catches you by surprise, the specific thing that person said or did that you replay even when you do not want to. I already know what it is. I have known since the moment it happened. Stop carrying it as your private burden, and let me carry what it cost you. The person who hurt you was operating from their own damage. Their capacity to harm you was a direct function of how unhealed they were, not how unworthy you are, and the protection your heart built in response, while completely understandable, is keeping out more than danger. It is keeping out the very things you are most hungry for. Real intimacy, real knowing, the particular quality of being loved by someone who has seen all of it and stayed. Those things are still possible for you. I am not finished writing that part of your story. Let me speak now to the loneliness that comes with being perceptive. There is a particular kind of isolation that lives inside people who see and feel more than average, who process at a different depth than most people around them, who can sense the emotional undertow of a conversation while still managing its surface, who feel things with an intensity that other people occasionally find exhausting, and that you have learned to edit down in order to be more comfortable to be around. Your sensitivity is not a malfunction. It is the very thing that makes you capable of the love and presence you offer. But it also means that ordinary connection rarely satisfies you fully, that most conversations leave you feeling like you said the edited version of what you meant, that you have spent years in rooms full of people feeling more alone than you would have felt by yourself. You are not too much. You have simply been surrounded by people who were not enough. Not because they are bad people, because they were not prepared to meet you where you actually live. And I am already moving to change that, bringing in people who have the depth to receive you, who have been through enough themselves to stop being frightened by real conversation, who will not need you to translate yourself before they can hear you. Those people exist. Some of them are sitting somewhere right now feeling exactly what you feel, wondering if anyone could actually hold them without flinching. The ache of the perceptive person is real, and I have not overlooked it. I am matching what is in you to what I have prepared for you. If something is opening in you that has been closed for a while, share this, not with a long explanation. Just send it to someone you think might need it. They might be the person you have been looking for, or they might know them. Now I want to say something about your faith that requires more honesty than you usually allow yourself. Your faith is not what it used to be, not in a dramatic falling away sense, just in the quiet sense of accumulated distance. The first time you believed something with uncomplicated certainty, and it did not come through the way you believed it would. Something subtle happened. You learned to hold hope with a little more reservation, and every subsequent disappointment added another layer to that protective distance. Not enough to stop you from praying, but enough that your prayers have a quality now that they did not used to have. A quality of going through the motions of hoping without quite daring to want. I am not offended by it. I have watched it form. I have never required your faith to be perfect before I act. I have never made my faithfulness conditional on the quality of your believing. You are allowed to be somewhere between certain and skeptical. You are allowed to tell me you are not sure you trust the process anymore, and still be fully in relationship with me. That kind of honesty is not lack of faith. It is the most genuine kind there is. I have always valued the faith that keeps showing up even when showing up does not feel like much more than the loud, confident kind. Choosing toward me while holding honest doubt is the harder and more real thing. I need you to stop managing the distance. Stop maintaining the careful half-hope that keeps you from being too disappointed if things do not change. Let yourself want the full thing. The protected version of your hope is not protecting you from pain. It is guaranteeing that you arrive at what is coming without being able to fully receive it, because you never really let yourself believe it was possible. Let yourself want what you actually want. Feel the full weight of the longing without immediately adding the disclaimer. Because that longing is not evidence of immaturity. It is the sound of what I put inside you reaching toward what I am preparing to bring. Type yes in the comments if you are willing to want it again. Fully, without the disclaimer. Let that be its own kind of prayer. Now let me talk about the way time has worked against you. You have watched things happen for other people on timelines that made your own feel disordered. Someone younger got the thing you have been working toward. Someone who started later arrived earlier, and the feeling that produces is not simple envy. Underneath the envy is a specific self-directed shame about the envy. And underneath that is the real thing. A fear that the timing of your life is telling you something about your worth, that the delay is a verdict. That story is false, and I know it is false in a way you cannot from inside it because I can see what you cannot see. What I am building in your life requires specific conditions. The pieces need to arrive in a particular order for the whole thing to hold together. What looks like delay from your vantage point is precision from mine. The person who arrived earlier was ready for an earlier and different version of what is being prepared. What is being built for you is calibrated to who you are, which means the timeline is calibrated to who you are becoming. You are not behind the people around you. You are on a different blueprint, and what I release after the kind of sustained faithfulness you have demonstrated does not trickle. It arrives as the thing itself, undiminished, prepared, and specific to you. You will not look at it and feel like you received the lesser version. You will look at it and know that it was worth every year it took to prepare it. I want to speak now to your body, not metaphorically actually. Stress lives in the body before it lives in the mind. You probably know the specific geography of yours. The place in your shoulders that climbs toward your ears before you realize tension has arrived. The tightness in your chest that shows up before a hard thing. The way your stomach responds to uncertainty with a sinking sensation. The quality of sleep that is technically sleep, but does not leave you rested. The way your whole body just feels heavier than it should. That is not weakness. That is the physical accumulation of long-term care work, of holding things, of being strong when rest was not available. I made that body. I know exactly what it is holding, every tension pattern, every place where old grief has settled into muscle. And I am speaking into those specific locations right now. Not as a technique, as an actual exchange between us. Breathe slowly and let something release in the place where you hold the most. Do not manufacture the release. Just create the space for it. If you are feeling something physically right now, some small shift, some warmth in a place that has been tense. Type the word peace in the comments. Let that be a record. Let someone reading later know that something real is accessible here. Now let me tell you specifically what I am doing. I am working in the relational dimension of your life, moving people toward you who have been prepared for this chapter. They are different in the specific ways you needed them to be, deeper, more present, less frightened of the full version of you. Some of them are also carrying what you carry, the same depth, the same history of feeling slightly out of sync with the available world. The recognition between you will be immediate. Do not talk yourself out of it when it happens. I am working in the vocational dimension, aligning what you are genuinely good at with the actual need that exists for it, in the specific way that means you will stop feeling like you are performing work that does not quite fit. That alignment is closer than it appears. There are conversations being arranged, doors being unlocked, that are connected to doors you did not know were related to each other. I am working in the financial dimension, the gap between what is needed and what is available, the specific anxiety of not knowing how things are going to work out, the way that pressure follows you into every other area of life and colors it. I am the God who provides from resources that are not visible on your current spreadsheet. Watch the unexpected. Watch the conversation that comes from an angle you did not anticipate. Watch the number that changes when you did not see how it could. The good things I am bringing are not arriving because you said the right things or maintained the right attitude. They are arriving because I am faithful, and what I planted in you before you were born is real. Your job is not to earn this. Your job is to receive it. Now I need to speak to the ones carrying something they believe makes them unforgivable. Not just guilty, unforgivable. Maintaining a private conviction that what is being said here applies to everyone else, but not quite to them, because of the specific thing they did, or the specific pattern they could not stop, or the specific way they failed someone who trusted them. What you did is known to me. I know the actual thing, not the edited version, and my response to the actual version is not what the conviction in your chest is telling you it is. That conviction says when I see the full picture I pull back. That grace has specific exceptions and you are one of them. That is not my voice. That is the voice of an adversary who knows that if he can keep you convinced you are unreachable, he does not have to worry about what you will become when you discover that you are not. You are not the exception. There is no exception. The specific and unedited thing you did is the exact category of thing the cross was designed to cover. Not as an afterthought, as the whole point. Come back. Not when you have cleaned it up. Come back now, exactly as you are, with the thing still attached. I am not waiting for you to resolve it before I receive you. I am the resolution, and my door has never been locked from my side. Let me say something about who you will be in 10 years if you let this next season be what it is capable of being. You will look back at this period with a kind of sacred respect for what it required and what it produced. The qualities being forged in you right now, the ones that feel like damage but are actually depth, the capacity for compassion that comes from having needed it, the ability to be present with suffering people because you have been a suffering person. These are not wounds that need to be healed away. They are the exact equipment you will need for what is ahead. There are people coming who will need exactly what the hard years made you. Not the polished version, the real version, the one that has been through something and shows it. Your story, including the chapters you would prefer to skip over, is not a liability in what comes next. It is the specific credential that qualifies you for it. I did not waste any of it if you sense someone in your life needs this word right now. Someone in the middle of their hardest chapter and losing the ability to believe it serves a purpose. Share this with them today. Your share could be the thing that keeps someone in the story. I want to close by speaking to the part of you that has been waiting for permission. Permission to stop performing resilience you do not actually feel. Permission to want the full version of what you originally wanted. Permission to be in process instead of having arrived. Permission to still be carrying things you have not resolved. Permission to love me while being genuinely unsure about some of the things you used to be certain of. Permission to be complex and contradictory and sometimes exhausted and sometimes doubting and still, through all of that, fully mine. You have permission. You always had it. I gave it to you before you needed to ask. The life I am leading you into is not a reward for the version of you that held it all together. It is the inheritance of the version of you that kept showing up even when holding it together was not possible. Those are two different things, and I have always valued the second more. Here is what I want you to carry out of this. Not a feeling that will fade by morning. Something more like a reorientation. I want you to leave with the knowledge that the next chapter has been built for you by someone who knows you specifically and has not been limited by the constraints you have been operating under. The best of your life is not a memory. It has not happened yet. Leave something in the comments, not a performance of gratitude, something real, where you are. What landed, what you are now allowing yourself to want. Someone who watches this later will need to read what you write. Your words there are not small. They are part of how this moves through the world. I want you to do one more thing before you go. Look at the fact that you are still here, at the end of this, still reading, still letting the words land. That is not a small thing you could have left at any point. Something kept you, that something was not passive. It was a choosing repeated quietly, sentence by sentence, to stay in the room. That choosing is faith. It counts. I counted it. Like this, if it was for you, share it if someone in your life needs it. And if this reached you in a specific way, in a place that has not been reached in a long time, type Amen in the comments and let that be the beginning of something, not the performance of a word. The honest acknowledgement that something real just happened, and you are not going to pretend it did not. And know this as you go. You are known down to the level of detail no other person can reach. You are loved in a way that does not require your performance. And what is being prepared for you is specific, intentional, and more than enough. It is already in motion.